All right, GM, everybody. Welcome this Monday morning. Edu, GM to you, man. How's it going?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's going good. I'm a little bit tanned from the beach, so that is always appreciated. It's almost summer here in Barcelona, so that's nice. How about you?
Oh yeah, man. I actually spent some time at the beach as well. Um, this last week and got a chance to go and see some family there. It's not. I mean, it's definitely warming up here, but it's also definitely not summertime yet. I'm looking forward to it, but it's like I made the comment yesterday. You can go outside; it's perfect. You can wear shorts and short sleeve shirt, but like the pavement or like the flagstones aren't hot, so you can walk in bare feet, which I sort of dislike wearing shoes. Like if I could go around wearing bare feet all day, every day, I'd probably just do that. There's something about me. I've sort of got some hippie genes, I guess.
That sounds good. How is it? How is the ocean over there? In how? Like, I have no clue. Like, is it like danger? Like, for example, Panama's ocean, where I'm originally from, in Panama, the ocean is quite tricky. So it suddenly can change the tide really fast, and there is this thing that I don't know the name in English, but it basically it's this kind of water that sucks you into the water, and it sort of can drown you. But here in the Mediterranean, the ocean is like really easy, really chill, no problem at all. How is it over there?
Yeah, that's interesting. I can imagine there's a big difference. I mean, on the Atlantic coast of Spain, I imagine I know there's some decent surf there, right? Like, but I'm sure it's a big difference from from the Mediterranean. Where I'm going here on the east coast of the U.S., it depends on the season. But like this last week, we just had a massive storm, and it came like from it basically it went one direction, came like south to north, and then it reversed course and came back down. And so there was like big surf, and you can get riptides and all sorts of stuff. It's probably like I don't think the Atlantic, except for like a hurricane or a nor'easter like this, it wouldn't be as rough as what you'd see in Panama. And Panama certainly has more consistent like swell for surfing, but it can be pretty bad here. But then other days, or other months out of the year, like next month is typically gonna be flat as a board and like really safe and probably more like the Mediterranean. So I guess it depends on the time of year in some ways.
Yeah, of course. Anyways, shall we start? We
Let's do it.
have already a crowd here.
GM, everybody, thanks for joining. Hope everybody had a great weekend. And once again, just want to remind you there is the link to the YouTube. So if you are joining us on YouTube, GM, you're already there. If you're here in the Discord and you're looking to watch a bit of the TV part of what we're doing, we share a screen, got some good diagrams to show you for basically the whole Terra ecosystem, for example. So if you want to see some of those videos, or those video assets rather, as we're chatting and doing the show, there is a link if you're in the server up at the top where it says happening now, DAO News Alpha, right? It's the event. That bit.ly link that you see beneath it will take you directly to 1HTV. So click on that if you'd like to check out the visuals throughout the show today. And once again, GM to everybody, we're going to get started here with the news in just a second, but I want to remind everybody that we have a lot of awesome shows happening throughout the week. So here we are, Monday, as always. We cover the news. We have a guest coming second hour, I believe. There may be, we'll talk about that. Hopefully they'll be able to join us from Club Raphael. And if not, then we're gonna talk about some cool stuff related to One Hive specifically. But we also are going to see, Billy's in the audience today. We'll have to see what he says. Maybe he can drop a thought in the One Hive TV chat channel. Typically, Billy's show is bi-weekly, but given the recent insanity, I know that he may be giving everyone a bonus episode tomorrow evening. So keep an eye out on the One Hive TV chat. We'll definitely be posting events here in the server as well, to confirm the shows that will be happening this week. We know for sure that there's the Wednesday NFT and gaming show that happens on a weekly basis. If you want to watch a show from last week or really any of the previous episodes for any of the 1H TV shows, head over to the YouTube channel. This week, there also is going to be a Spanish language show. It's a bi-weekly show that last occurred almost 2 weeks ago. Miguel is the host. He does an awesome job bringing folks in from different crypto projects, and then presenting awesome LATAM music that much of it he has produced himself. So if you're interested in, if you're a Spanish speaker in particular, I think you'll really dig the show. Bi-weekly, it'll be happening this Thursday. So timing, if Billy's going to be doing a show tomorrow, it'll be like 9:30 p.m. Eastern. It's a late night show. The NFTs and Gaming show is every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, which I think is 7 p.m. UTC. And then the Thursday Spanish language and music show is at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we got a lot of cool stuff going on this week. Obviously, a ton of news to get into and cover. What is interesting to me, Edu, and then I'll pass you the mic here. What is interesting to me is this sort of, as the bear market becomes deeper, right, and it becomes more obvious to everyone, we see interesting phenomena happening across, the governance front. If this is your first time joining the show, we track what's going on Snapshot or across different, protocols and their governance. And I think that we have a lot of interesting stuff to share with you today. And of course, we'll be getting into the Terra UST debacle as well. But what do you want to hit first, Edu? What do you think, man?
So we can start with a very simple proposal, which is the Aave proposal, the latest one, that already finished, actually. So we can start soft today with an art proposal from the Aave community that says whitelist connects for V3 portals. And it's a very simple proposal. I won't take too long to explain it, but basically, it's a proposal that started on May the 9th and that finished on May the 12th. And basically, it's a proposal to whitelist connects. Let me mute my. There you go. So it's a proposal to whitelist connects, which is basically a trust minimized cross-chain protocol for V3 portals on 6 chains: Optimism, Arbitrum, Polygon, Avalanche, Phantom, and Harmony, with credit lines for USDC 2 million each chain and USDT 1 million each chain, and ETH and 40 ETH on each chain. So they explained that Connext is a network for fast, trustless communication between chains and rollups, and is the only interoperability system of its type that does this cheaply and quickly without introducing any new trust assumption. And Connext is aimed at developers who are looking to build bridges and other natively cross-chain applications, and around 1.3 billion has been crossed in transactions on this network. So they specify that Connext is much more than a bridge. It's an interoperability protocol and allows to build cross-chain application without adding trust assumption. So they feel that because of this, the nature of this, it will be really good for Aave portals. So on this case, the options were for or against, and it passed. The for passed, so it was approved with 190K Aave tokens on it, 99% of approval, and around 1,300 voters on it. Have you heard of Connext before, T-Walls?
Yeah. Now, Connext obviously was one of the first bridging options, and around this time last year, we had a video actually up on OneHive YouTube, a simple tutorial that explained how you could bridge assets from XDAI at the time, right? It's before Gnosis acquired it. How you could bridge from what is now Gnosis Chain to, I think at that time it was like Matic, or no, it was Polygon, or no, it was Matic, renamed to Polygon. Everybody gets renamed last year, or the year before, in the last 18 months or whatever. So I've known about Connext for a while, but only have thought about it as a bridge. And so this sort of additional interoperability component is somewhat new to me. I confess, obviously, a lack of technical knowledge. This is something, if folks have any insights on Connext and want to share any reaction to this in the chat, feel free to do so. OneHive TV chat here on Discord, or of course in the YouTube, any questions about it. We'll try to respond to those quickly. I think this is definitely, it's highly interesting to see this integration. Like, I'm not sure if Connext has had a similar integration with other protocols or other DeFi protocols in particular. If people are interested in using Connext, haven't done it before, they do have a bridge that I can also show up here on screen. Have you ever used them before, Adam?
No, I have not, and I apologize for the ambulance that is just passing by. Go ahead. There you go. No, the ambulance went away. So, no, I have not used it. So I have no idea how actually it looks even. But I think, I mean, Aave is in a rampage of partnerships. So this is one that I think it makes a lot of sense. Out of my ignorance on the topic, what do you think? That
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting, and I'm happy. Like as you said, Aave is, despite market conditions, right? They still got a lot of active work going on that we see every week, pretty much, right? And in this case, I find it really interesting. What I'm curious to know is, it seems like this is a way, like this integration is a way for Aave users to essentially transfer a value from one version of Aave to another. From, like, in other words, if you want to bring capital from Aave on mainnet to capital and Aave, on Polygon, that would this be like a native feature, like a native bridge built into the Aave UI? I'm curious to know like what the implementation would look like, I guess.
correct?
Seems like
And
Billy's saying, yeah.
yeah, what is interesting is that, I mean, this proposal was passed already, and it was passed on the 12th of May, if I'm not wrong. But they are asking about 1 million USDT. So we'll see how that it affects, if it affects this proposal execution at all. And then we can pass on to PancakeSwap. And in the case of PancakeSwap, it's funny because their latest proposal are being like colorful for some reason. Anyways, PancakeSwap, this is a proposal for Metis DAO with the token Metis, Zero Pool, and Farm. And they explain that Metis is a layer 2 scaling infrastructure that supports the running of a Web3 economy. With advanced Metis network, dApps and users can achieve lower cost, higher transaction speeds, high transaction speeds, higher scalability, and enjoy the native security inherited from Ethereum. Metis DAO is also building a new multi-chain, Ethereum, BNB chain, etc., decentralized autonomous company, DAC framework and reputation power matrix to support the building and operation of a Web3 economy. And this proposal aims to start a zero pool with Metis DAO. The total tokens will be 11,500 Metis. Distribution will be for 30 days, and it will start approximately today, 11 a.m. UTC, May the 16th, and the finish time will be on June 15, 11 a.m. UTC. And the total rewards per block will be 0.01331 Metis. And this proposal was voted on favor with 1.2 cake tokens on it, 97 approval for this proposal, and 700 voters on this. Do you know Metis?
I don't actually, and I am looking on Twitter here. I'll bring it on over to. You can, folks, if you want to check them out, you can see at Metis DAO on Twitter. They got over 100K, 130,000 followers. I haven't heard of it before. It refers to itself as a L2 Ethereum optimistic chain. I don't really know what, I mean, it's kind of sounds like a word salad to me, but maybe I'm just not technically knowledgeable enough. I haven't heard of it before.
Yeah, so they explain that they're Ethereum layer 2 rollup platform. On their webpage, you can see that they explain that dApps plus DAOs plus NFT plus people equals Web3 economy. They also say that it's a simple implementation, all on Ethereum, all decentralized. And they have even on their webpage, they have some things for comparison notes. And if we go to their page of their token, the Metis DAO, the Metis token has a value of $27 per token. So it's not that bad. As far as I can see here on their metrics, they have, of course, like the rest of the market, they have had a bigger value. They even reach at some point $300 per token. So I don't know. This is nice. I still don't know much about it, as many of you. So So yeah, we will see how this goes.
I don't know. It's what's interesting to me is that they're sort of like the project seems to be describing itself as being an L2 Ethereum or something related to an L2 built on Ethereum, but this proposal is happening with a project built on Binance. So that's interesting. I don't know. I haven't been following much about it. What is interesting to me is I guess that PancakeSwap still a living, breathing thing. I haven't been over there in a very long time, but it is interesting that, again, despite market conditions, that I think the community around some of these projects that, you know, had a lot of success last year it'll be interesting to see how long it endures and like which communities last the longest, I guess.
Yeah, at the end, this is a little bit like Hunger Games, but the Hunger
Yeah.
Games of the decentralized exchanges and the Hunger Games of protocols. So we will see who
Who will
survives at the end.
survive? Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I mean, this proposal was submitted when all this already happened. This was submitted on the May the 15th, yesterday, basically. So this is not like, oh, they did it unknowingly, knowing what was going on. So
It's like a 1 day
we will
turnaround
see. I
though.
mean, the pool,
It's like, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Their pool, if the token it's at 20, um, right now, they are putting 241. They are putting 11,000 tokens. So around 300K by the price they have at the moment, 300K on this zero pool, with the price of 21. So we
Right
will
on.
see
Well, if
how
you're,
this unfolds.
I was gonna say if you're,
And
yeah,
yeah,
if you're
go
on
ahead.
Binance and PancakeSwap, maybe this is some alpha for this project. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I saw the other one that you had there though, with regards to the cake, like the token cap, which is
Yeah.
that like an ecosystem wide proposal, huh?
Yes. So the next proposal that Ted is talking about, it's a proposal that started on May the 11th and it already ended on May the 12th, and very short time for voting on this proposal. And this proposal was named Proposal to Cap Cake Token Supply at a maximum of 750 million tokens of cake. So basically, the proposer assured that the amount of 750 million cake basically comfortable gives an opportunity, an approximate runway of 3 years before the current circulating supply reaches this cap. They believe that implementing this proposed cap will enable the cake token to better reflect the value, community, and sustainability of PancakeSwap. The overview of their calculation is that the current cake supply is 290 million cake. The number of blocks per year is 10.5 million blocks, and the number of cake emitted per year is 10.5 million blocks. Times, it's a long equation that I will not follow up. Uh, so 3 years runway equals current cake supply plus 3 years worth of cake, and the emissions will be 200 million cake equals 740 million cake equals 7 million, whatever. I hate maths. So they basically approved this proposal with 11 million cake tokens on it. Big turnout, and 98% approval, and 3,000 voters on this. And as you can see in the turnout of votes, the top whale on this snapshot has 4.3 million cake. So it's not like there was two only whales voting. There was a sort of a big turnout, I feel, for this proposal. So yeah, it's nice. What do you
Interesting,
think?
man. I think that this is, I'm going to say a quick technical note. If people are watching on YouTube, or if they're going to click over there, I think we're having some buffering issues there. So just bear with us. We'll try to smooth that out. But back to the story here. I think that this is interesting. Again, I don't profess to have enough knowledge of like the PancakeSwap ecosystem to, I guess my assumption is that they did not have a token cap at any, so this is sort of like unlimited supply, or they're just changing it. But if I'm not misremembering, I'm not sure that there was a total supply cap, and I think that that was part of what was interesting about it as a phenomena. It's like this massive, I don't even call it a people. I think I try to use the word Ponzi carefully. And I think Ponzi has to involve, taking on new money to repay old money. I think that this was just an incredible inflationary experiment. And if, to my knowledge, they didn't have a token cap and they were emitting a lot, but they also, there's a point where you could look on chain, there was like over 60% that was locked up in their contracts. So they were like able to effectively manage circulating supply even without a token cap, which is, again, it was interesting. I'm not saying necessarily it's worth replicating per se, but like they had a strong community and I guess they still do. It is interesting then that the suggestion or this proposal to apply a token supply cap, it makes sense that it's happening like right now, right? I mean, this is the time where I guess everybody's trying to be like, hey, look, we're not going to be inflationary forever. Buy the token. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, but it does make sense that this sort of thing would be happening now, I guess is my observation.
Yeah, and if you see, I'm seeing currently the coin market cap price and chart from the very beginning of PancakeSwap and how the token has evolved, decreased, or increased the price. And I mean, it's a token that the highest price was at some point $42 per token. But besides that, it has sort of kept in between the 10s and the 20s for all this time. It's at 4 because everything is at 4, I believe, at this point. But it has sort of been surprisingly stable. If that's a subjective point of view, as someone who is quite ignorant on these things, but I don't know. I find this interesting as I don't know if it's an experiment. I don't know how. And of course, they have done their token economics. They even explained it here on the proposal that they have been working hard to bring value to PancakeSwap and the Cake token from providing new products, for example, perpetuals, to sourcing the zero pools and farms. So I don't know. It's they are trying. They even put it here in the proposal that they want to do better and they will try to do better. So I guess this is part of their experimentation to see how this will outlook down the lane for PancakeSwap.
Yeah, man, I think probably still the biggest TVL on BSC. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. Whatever they're doing, I think probably points to what the direction of that ecosystem is going towards, maybe, or like, at least indicative of that.
Yeah. And then the next proposal, which is also for token economics, my lord, it's with Bankless. And basically, this proposal is a proposal that started on May the 11th and will finish May 18, meaning 2 days. And this proposal is to stake 10 ETH of the Bankless treasury, which has 34 ETH on the treasury. And the idea is that to generate a passive yield on ETH and support permissionless, decentralized proof of stake ETH staking. They say that this will extend the treasury runway by generating low risk yield, and which will allow Bankless DAO to allocate more funds to support its mission. This is also aligned with Bankless DAO's commitment to support fully permissionless decentralized systems, and Rocket Pool is currently the only fully permissionless decentralized ETH proof of stake staking system. And this system allows anyone with less than 32 ETH and anyone willing to maintain a validator to secure the ETH proof of stake consensus mechanism. In the same way that the Ethereum community has elected to maintain low block size in the proof of work consensus mechanisms to allow for a higher degree of decentralization, Rocket Pools allows any amount of ETH to be staked for the centralized upcoming proof of stake consensus mechanism. So it's funny because I love that the title of the Rocket Pool webpage is "Your Friendly Decentralized Ethereum Proof of Stake." It's like really cute branding, the one they have. And I don't know, have you ever used Rocket Pool? When I was writing this a few days ago, this is the first time I heard about Rocket Pool. Have you used it, try it out, or anything like that?
So this is The short answer is yes, but not much, and it's been a while. I think the useful context here is like, without going too far afield here, right? Like ETH 2.0 is going to be a proof of stake network, and if you want to become a validator, you have to have 32 ETH to your name, right? So now that will be easier when ETH goes back below $1,000. I'm joking. Am I joking? Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's the bear case. Now, I'm being an asshole, but I'm saying when it's 4,000, that was a lot of money. You got over 100K worth of ETH. Okay, so now you can be a validator. Well, that's a shitload more than if you wanted to run an Ethereum mining setup. I mean, it's not cheap, and I'm not suggesting people would necessarily do that, but I'm saying that the barrier to entry, like the economic barrier to entry to participating in like the decentralization of Ethereum, is going way up. And this is something not a whole lot of people talk about, but what it basically means is the effect of this is that if you have ETH and you want to earn yield on it, you have to give your keys to some centralized entity, right? It's going to share a portion of that yield with you. But this is an unfortunate part, I think, of ETH 2.0 game theory. Sorry. I'm not here to make, you know what I'm saying? I'm here to be honest. I think that Rocket Pool, however, offers this alternative. It's like a decentralized staking pool. So rather than having to give your keys to Coinbase, to Kraken, to Binance, whatever, Rocket Pool offers a decentralized staking alternative for people who don't have large quantities of Ether. So again, it's really cool. I think that this is, if Rocket Pool became the default and really caught on and got like all the people to take their Ether off of exchanges and do it this way instead, that would be fantastic, and it would really address a lot of concerns I think some people have. So Bankless doing this I think is great. I think this is fantastic. Like, you have a well-funded project and DAO that is establishing this linkage with another project being Rocket Pool that I think really has the right intent, like the intentions of addressing the challenges that I just referred to. So yeah.
Yep, and at the end, I mean, if you go to their webpage, they have 174 ETH stake, 1,161 node operators, and I feel this is a staking for poor people like me.
Isn't it? Who doesn't have... I don't want 32 ETH. And I don't want to give that shit. I don't know. I'll be damned before I take it off chain. Fuck Coinbase. Sorry, I ain't doing it. So yeah, and particularly, let me just say, folks, by the way, Gwei has been really low recently, so this is a great opportunity that, check out Rocket Pool. I'll drop the link.
Yeah, I agree. So that's on the Bankless side. And then we can move to, we have we have two conversations that we are going to have today. One of them will be regarding Gitcoin, and the second one, of course, will be about Luna. So we will start with the soft one, and the sort of nice, non-confrontational conversation, which is the Gitcoin one. So basically, if you go to Gitcoin snapshot, you will see that season 14 on Gitcoin has started, and you will see that because of it just started, it's about to start. They published all the requests for their budget proposal for mainly their work streams. They have the DAO Ops season 14 budget request, public goods funding, memes, marketing, and merch workstream, the kernel workstream, Moonshot Collective workstream, main kudos workstream, decompass workstream, and the feedback. Another one that is requesting feedback specifically for the FDD budget proposal. So the reason why we are bringing this up is that if you click in some of these proposal, there are some disagreement in the Gitcoin community regarding which ones are to approve and which ones aren't to approve. So for example, the DAO Ops got a massive yes, 90% on their approval. They are requesting 948K, almost $1 million USD, or 377 GTC. So this, for example, is in the DAO Ops section. But if you go to the other ones, for example, the public goods, you will see that they start building some resistance. So on the public goods funding request, the approval is at 62%. on that proposal. If you go to the kernel one, for example, the kernel one didn't pass. The kernel one had half 50% a no, a 36 yes, and a 13% of abstain. They were requesting 49K in GTC, which is not a lot compared to the other ones, but they did a reduction of the original request that was 150 GTC. So, they amended and they requested less, but it still didn't pass. And all these proposals will sort of pass in today. I think May 16, 7 p.m. is when this vote ends. And then if we keep going through this proposal, you will see the same kind of pattern. The min kudos workstream, for example, which basically it's min kudos for people who doesn't know what min kudos is. Min kudos provides a platform for people to recognize community contributions in the most delightful way possible. These soul-bound recognition tokens, which range from a peer-to-peer appreciations and endorsement to formal attestations of contributions, become the foundation of for an individual decentralized reputation. And they were requesting 6.6K GTC for season 14. And it didn't pass. It was against with 59% and abstain of 40% of abstain, which is another sort of temperature check that it's reflected on the voting aspect of it. And then it keeps going. So basically you will see how some work streams were sort of heavily approved and some others brought certain doubts about it. And this took me back to Lefteris on Twitter, who he made a comment on regarding this aspect of the budget's proposals. And he explained on his tweet that he voted no on all but 2 open season 14 budget proposals. And he basically summarizes saying that he believed the DAO is overspending, trying to do too much, and deviates from its goal and is paying way too high salaries. He then goes into building a thread on why and the consequences of why this happened and why he believes this is the best for the community. Of course, he mentioned something that we will be discussing later on, but he mentioned that the fact that we are in a bear market and the DAO has no way to earn income at the moment, and that he feels that they are burning money very fast. And the money denominated in GTC, a token with no protocol or utility. And he follows saying that you can easily imagine what happens to the price of the tokens once the GTC token once the market realizes that. And there is a lot of if you go to the forum of Gateway, you will see a lot of back and forth. A lot of these budgets were amended, and some of them this was the second version of it or the third version of it. Most of the budget proposals were amended. But what I find interesting is this conversation about money, which is always tricky. It doesn't matter if you're in bear market or bull market. The money conversation is always tricky, but it is nice to see how healthy it seems to be the community in Gitcoin, that they can openly disagree and openly voted no. So it's not this typically, let's approve everything because it will be less complicated. So yeah, what do you think, that?
Totally, man. I think that this is a great story that connects, I'm sure, with a lot of what's happening in a variety of DAOs, right? And those that we're participating in, right? Edo, you and I see this, and other DAOs that we're working with, is sort of the market has a very powerful effect on people's psychology, and some of it, and the way that that's handled tells a lot about the level of maturity of the people in the community and all this. I think that in general, it's obvious that when you have a raging bull market and you have astronomically high token prices, and you look at, the value of your treasury, it's very easy to then just sort of spray money around, because the assumption is that, up only, And so the change in general sentiment, I think, brings with it a corresponding seriousness about how resources are being spent. And in the case of Left Terrace, I think he has this voting guide that's really useful. So one of the things I think is most worth observing about Gitcoin is their delegated governance model. Because you start to see people like Left Terrace who take their responsibility seriously, providing detailed feedback and in a transparent way on the forum, communicating over Twitter, and in his case, not being afraid to take a hit in delegates, which he noted in his Twitter thread.
Yeah, and he also expressed that because he feels that because of his vote, the 300K delegated votes were taken were taken out of him, let's say in a way, not of him, but were undelegated. That's the right phrase to that. But what I see interesting is it's this sentiment of how people manage these situations. I think that there is a fact, and it's that the System 14, just to provide context, System 14 of Gitcoin, it's from May to July. So it's for basically about 3 months, which is the what it's covering. And there are certain budgets that, sort of I find that scary. I'm not a huge Gitcoin user. I have given donations and so on, but I'm not like someone who engage a lot on their things. But it's still, I mean, if you go to the proposal, for example, if we take the memes, merch, and marketing budget request, they did a really nice season 13 recap. So they went through all the things they accomplished, the objective, the things that they did. They also explain which activities from that past season they want to continue, and the other things, results. So they establish certain metrics, or at least certain intention of metrics to do it. And they, of course, did a full description of the season 14 budget requirements, what they're gonna spend it, and so on. But at the end, it's they were requesting 800 thousand bucks. It's a lot. It's not short. So it's interesting to understand, and I think this is where Leftery's comment also is. It's interesting to understand how do you spend that amount of money in 3 months. That's quite a lot. So it's interesting to see how these amendments happen, how transparent. For example, they based on the stewards' feedback, they provided clarifications, and they put it publicly on the proposal. So in that way, you will you don't have to read all of it. So they will just reply and provide answers to the feedbacks people were providing. So I don't know. I feel it brings a lot of sentiment. There's a lot of comments on this forum posts. So I don't know. I have this sentiment of we are gonna see a lot of amendments in the following seasons of different DAOs across the ecosystem because of the nature of what we are facing at the moment. But my curiosity is how many of these DAOs will provide support, at least mental support, to people, because some of these budget requests will get cut. Some people will earn less money. Some people lost all of their money. So I feel it's interesting to see this conversation rather than talk about. We had this conversation in the TC a few days ago. It is that we focus a lot on the price, and we focus a lot about the intrinsic idea that value equals money. And we have a huge opportunity to sort of add another concept to the value, of course, not only about money, but also see how the ecosystem responds, and the communities and the DAOs communities respond to their users and their members, and how you create a culture that has resiliency against these situations, at least mentally, and you create the right infrastructure to support your community members in a way that no one, yeah, everyone will suffer, but there are, when this kind of things happens, but your mental health needs to be acknowledged, and how you sort of create a better environment for people to withstand these kind of hits when the beer market arrives. What do you think that?
Yeah, that makes total sense, man. I mean, I think it's a combination of finding in the case of Gitcoin, I think one of the main contentions that Lefteris has, and maybe I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the argument I sense is that the previous bullish market conditions, they led to this like mission creep, like the scope of what Gitcoin is doing, what the DAO is doing, was growing, too quickly, and it was sort of losing its focus, and that obviously intersects with concerns over the resources. So I think if a DAO like Gitcoin, right, if it sort of can calibrate its focus, which it seems like it is doing, and combine that with a culture of support and of empathy for their community, I think that sounds like the ticket. Again, it's similar to you. I don't only have so many hours in the day, so I'm not a deep community member within the Gitcoin space, but I know a number of people from One Hive that have been working with the Gitcoin DAO since last year and have really enjoyed their time there. And as far as I know, they're still contributing. And so, yeah, I think in many ways, like these types of, this larger theme is probably happening in similar ways is happening across multiple DAOs. But once again, I think Lefteris's approach is the right one here. And look, the fact of the matter is, folks, whether we like it or not, token delegates are politicians. Like, they're a form of politicians, right? So like, I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just, how do you politic, right? So politics is a part of like being human. And so, but there's a right and the wrong way to do it. I guess one of the things that I just, on a related note, I'm seeing all these here, and clearly they organize it by seasons, but it also seems like when you see all these funding requests stacked up on the snap all at one time, combined with the sort of bearish market conditions, it creates a certain effect whereas if they were staggered in different ways. So I guess there's just a lot of experimentation that DAOs can engage in to try to figure out how best to handle market conditions, take care of their contributors, as well as like make sure, the devil's argument here is, I guess, make sure that you're not cutting off critical components, or you're sort of like becoming too myopic because of market conditions, and you're not taking advantage of opportunities, right? So there's always a double edge, or like two sides to the story, I guess.
I agree. And I think we can bridge into the elephant of the room, which is the Luna situation. Do you want to contextualize that?
Sure. What I'll do, actually, really quick, folks, if you're
I don't
watching,
think it's needed. I think everyone knows, but just if you want to provide a fast overview about the Luna situation.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're watching on YouTube, I know we had some latency issues there, and I can like drop the slide. I'll actually drop it here in the One Hive TV chat channel as well, because I think I tried to create a very simple visual for people to take a look at, and it's on screen right now on YouTube, so you can see it there, and I'll just use it as a starting point. But it's also getting uploaded to the One Hive TV chat channel. So if you're here in the Discord, you can click on the bit.ly link in the top left, or in the top left corner of the server where it says "Happening Now DAO News Alpha." Head over to YouTube, or you can simply click on the asset that I uploaded to the One Hive TV chat channel. Feel free to ask any questions, or add any comments in that Discord channel if you wish while we're talking about this. But it's important, I think, that people understand that there are like 4 major parts to the ecosystem. A lot of people know about UST and Luna, maybe Anchor, and probably less about the Luna Foundation Guard. But if you're interested in figuring out, like, I don't proclaim to be an expert in this. I'm interested in this at a high level. And full disclosure, like, I wasn't, I dabbled in each of these off and on last year, but I'm not, was never a large participant. I know many people were, and last week was particularly traumatic, and there's a lot of question marks over what comes next. But I think it's valuable, whether you were hit by this or not, or you're just hearing about the news, to understand, like, from a 30,000 foot view, what this ecosystem looks like. So UST is a stable coin. It's supposed to be pegged to the dollar. It's algorithmic, so it's under collateralized as far as I know. right? And this is where in the details it matters a lot. So if there's people who have insights, if there's even people at this stage in the show who want to come on stage and chat a little bit about this at some point, like feel free to raise your hand. I would ask you to drop a question in the One Hive TV chat first if you'd like to come up and discuss. But we could do that as well. The stablecoin. And then it is UST, okay? And then Luna is the network token. And the legacy, like TradFi equivalent to what Terra was building was like a Visa type payment system. And they actually had connectivity with a startup payments provider in South Korea. But that was the goal. And so the idea is the Luna token is what is staked to secure the POS network. So it's the network token. And of course it's volatile, right? It was something that a lot of people held, even if they weren't involved in the ecosystem. It's sort of the speculative play on the Terra ecosystem is the Luna token. And then on the other side here, we have Anchor and LFG. So I just want to briefly touch on these for people to understand that this is like, Anchor is the equivalent of like a high yield savings account. So it's paying like 20%, right? So you could deposit your UST there and earn 20% as like this sort of on-chain bank account. This is the idea, to my understanding, right? And it's very tempting to participate in. I mean, the context there has to be, at least as an American, literally an ally bank, they call it a high yield savings account, and it was like 0.09 or some bullshit. So like if you see, hey, here's a stable coin and it's a part of this top 10 market cap ecosystem and you can deposit for 20%, I think a lot of people to a lot of people it looks like, well, that's a lot more reasonable than 2,000% that you see on these incredible degen farms, so it must be safe. I know a lot of people participated in this. So the question, the linkage I want to make sure people understand here is between LFG and Anchor and this whole ecosystem, because the last one there that I have, LFG, which is the Luna Foundation Guard. You can Google it. Okay, this is essentially the purpose of this foundation was essentially to backstop the entire ecosystem and also essentially set monetary policy for Anchor. And so LFG is a lot like the Fed. And the point I'm trying to make here is that if anybody looks at this and is honestly looking at how all this stuff hangs together and wants to make the case that it's decentralized, I got a bridge to sell you. Like, I don't really know what else to say other than you had this centralized backstop that was supposed to function as the lender of last resort. They're supposed to ensure the stability of the ecosystem, and should a depeg happen, that it would swing to the rescue like the Fed. Okay. And this, of course, was itself under the direct influence of a single human. So, yeah, I think it's really like the takeaway for me from this whole debacle has been like, if we're just going to replicate legacy systems on chain, like, I don't know. It concerns me, I guess. Right. And for those of you who may have been following the price action, I won't put the chart up on the screen here, but if you look at the Luna chart, it's remarkably epic. Like, you can have a token lose 95% and then lose another 95 and another 95 and another 95, right? And the reason that death spiral happened is because of the tokenomics relationship between UST and Luna, right? That UST was to always be redeemable for $1 worth of Luna. So as it was crashing, people could just arb the thing, right? And dump Luna. Yeah, so I'm gonna pause for a second, and I'm gonna encourage people again. We're gonna dig into this a little bit more. Eddie's got some great headlines to share as well, but I think it's important to understand these different pieces. And if people have questions or comments or an experience they want to share with any of these parts, please feel free to do so in the One Hive TV chat here on the Discord or in YouTube. And if you're in Discord, of course, we could bring you up on stage if you want to add your insights or ask a question. What do you think, Eddie?
Yeah, my favorite tweet regarding this is one that we have been exchanging DMs with Ted regarding different things and information that we find across the Twitterverse. And there was one from this guy called Cyrus, that is money, that if. And he explained that this is something that is not, I cannot double check. I cannot make sure this is true or not, but I'm just going to read what it is without claiming whether it's true or not. But basically it says, over 4 years ago, I was a research analyst at Scalar Capital, and the Terra Luna deal came across our desk, and I was assigned to it because I was a DeFi guy. here is what I had to say about the project. So, and he mentioned, then he put this photo of what he mentioned with the timestamp of April the 20th, 2018. He says, basically, and I quote, okay, so unless I am missing something, this project isn't going to work. Terra is like the maker model. If the only collateral you could post to create DAI is the maker token itself, I'm pretty sure posting maker as a collateral to generate DAI is a terrible idea. I'm not a monetary expert, but it seems to me that Terra suffers from the death spiral. So, in this example, Terra is a stablecoin and Luna is the collateral. If Terra were to fall and break the peg, then it will depend on Luna to save Terra. But Luna will fall as investors will panic, and then Terra will continue to fall, and then they will just keep each other contributing to each other's demise. This is exactly what happened to Nubits like 3 years ago, and I'm kind of surprised this idea is being tried again when it's so trivially broken. That being said, if I'm missing something and you want me to dig in deeper, I will be happy to do a call with these guys and get some info. I finished the quote. So it's interesting because and this was a pattern that I saw around, and when this happened on Twitter, there were a lot of people who brought back their old tweets where they talk about it and seemingly no one mentioned anything. Just Billy did. So you are raising your hand. Ted, can you bring Billy into? Probably he has better expertise on me in saying this stuff.
Yeah.
So what is interesting is how people were quoting old past tweets, and at the same time, my only worriness from all this stuff, and I think we talk about this Ted at some point. My only worriness on this is the fact that how sometimes because a project has a nice price or has a huge community or whatever other value there is, we take for granted that it's a validated project. We take for granted their token economics. We take for granted what they claim and the sort of value that they present on the table. And sometimes, for me, this was sort of a eye-opening situation on understanding how there should be more technical people. There should be that we should provide space to listen more about the real expert opinion on these things rather than just validating a project just because they have a huge community or just because they look nice or whatever. Back to you, Billy.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. I think maybe Zeroite and Billy have some light to shed on this. GM guys, how are y'all doing?
Doing well.
Go for it, man. Billy, you wanna hop in on this one, Terra mess, man? I know you.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if Zero wanted to throw something in there. But yeah, definitely. I mean, ultimately, we haven't seen the end of the UST scandal in a sense, because there's still a lot more to go. I mean, one thing to consider is, if you went into UST and you gambled yourself into it, shame on you in a sense. That was your choice to do it. There's a lot of naysayers in the whole economics of the whole system. But there's going to be a lot of downfall of all the people that were offering services to invest. Like if different DeFi protocols were using your money to then invest in the UST Terra protocol. If they wanted that anchor 20% return, they were probably giving you 10% return and then keeping 10% for themselves. So there's a lot of money that you were kind of investing it without even knowing, and you won't find out until a little bit later until they see what compensations there were. So there's still a lot more to go. I think we're still going to see the after effects, or basically the aftershocks of what happened in this main crash. I mean, and then just for other people to consider, if you do want to go risk, and I can't blame people for doing like a little bit of risk and trying to make a little bit of money, because people are in different positions. I had a conversation, kind of sparked a conversation on Sasal's tweet where he's like, stop playing with, these Ponzi's and everything and just invest in public goods. But my argument was, if you just came to the space last year and ETH is at $4,000 and you're not a rich person, well, how do you get ahead?
Right.
And you have to take a little bit of risk, in a sense. You have to do what you need to do. I mean, this is a new generation of people joining in Web3. And you can't dollar cost average ETH anymore. I mean, if you do $100 a month, like in a state at 4,000, I mean, it would take you a couple of years to get at least one ETH. And there's a lot of people sitting on top of a large pile or a decent stack that can easily critique, But for someone that's coming in that doesn't have a lot of money and looking for opportunity, that they can't use the same path people that did before. It's just a different type of game. But yeah, I mean, and also just to put into consideration, I mean, if you do invest in certain things, definitely, I mean, DeFi insurance is definitely something to take into consideration. There were a couple insurance funds that did have opportunities for UST. So if you were a little, iffy on it, on Slash Finance and I think Insure Ace offered DPEG insurance for UST. I believe Unslash has paid out some of that for insurance, and I think Insure Ace has a certain amount they pay back if it keeps below peg for 2 weeks. So there are insurances, and those are starting to become more popular, and I think that will play a large effect. Nobody thinks about insurance, my gains, but it's always something to consider as well when you have it. But my point, going back to full circle, is we still haven't seen the true effects of what people haven't, because a lot of protocols are probably hiding the losses because they're trying to see what they can do to get back.
Totally, man. I got actually the tweet, Ed had shared with me from Crypto Condom. It's up on it's up on the YouTube right now, but I'll share it as well. It covers the insurance side of things and names a few of them that I think intersect with what you were just suggesting, Billy. So like, I guess would that be like if you're new to crypto, for example, and you're really trying to, and you feel as though you need to take on some risk for the reasons that you described, definitely check out these insurance products or protocols, I guess. I don't know. Is there one that you know of that you would say is it sounds like Unslashed is at the top of the list or top of your list, maybe?
Well, you know what? Personally, I use Nexus Mutual just because they were kind of one of the first ones, and they do have a history of paying out. Because everybody can make promises, but when it comes down to actually paying, a lot of people disappear into the wind. But they do not offer DPEG insurance. It's more of a loss of funds, and they have their valid reasons why. So it really depends on your risk reward ratio, but it's something to consider. You have to pay up your balance up front. So like if you're, let's say $10,000, you have to pay the 2% up front for that insurance coverage. And so if you're planning on making 5%, you want to make sure that balances out. But I'd rather pay a little bit and then be able to sleep at night versus, what if, something goes wrong or something. And again, you have to follow the insurance guidelines because the job of the insurance company is to get out of it. So as long as you are within the range, they have. Unslash has shown that they've been able to pay out as well. So keep an eye on that for that. I think that will be a new trend for things to come.
I don't know. For some reason, Billy, this when you mentioned when people arrive when ETH was 4K, it reminds me of the gold era in California. When it was found gold in California and sort of everyone started going to California for gold. And all the things that it reminds me of this kind of human pattern. I'm not gonna label it as greedy or as good or bad. It's just this pattern, the human pattern of repeating the same things in different aspects of economy, different times either, even. But it's interesting for me when this kind of happens and see what is the result in what is in the result in the communities that it affected down the lane.
Just real quick, I know we're running out of time, but it comes down to the theory of, look at the generations. Like grandpa could work a part-time job, work a full-time job in a single income, support, a family of 4, buy a house, retire at 65. This generation has no chance of doing that. There's no way. You have to have a double income. If you graduate from a university over here, you're 6 figures in debt. The economy and inflation rates is working against you. So then how do you can't play that same game. You can't. So people critique people from using YouTube or TikTok, but then there's people that make millions of dollars on YouTube and TikTok. It's a hard job, but it's they found another way. So in this space, you have the old veterans saying, oh, you can't play these games because they're sitting on a nice stack and it's easy to critique when you can pay your bills. But when you're here for new opportunities, you can't follow the same path because that path is no longer available in a sense.
It's important insight, I think. Yeah, man, totally. So I think in part, the best that we can do here at One Hype TV and the work we're doing is trying to educate and bring awareness to things because, like, if you need to take on risk, doing it in the best way or the safest way possible. I understand these things push against each other, but like there are ways to take advantage of different opportunities without, I guess, exposing yourself to too much risk, right? That you'll get wrecked. And Billy has helped us think through a lot of that recently.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, like I don't want to get wrecked. I've got wrecked before. You learn your lessons, and you lick your wounds, and you move on, and you learn from it in a sense. But then that's why we want to share experiences with everybody that's new to the space or has been in the space or hasn't considered the bad things that happen. You see hacks happen all the time. There was actually a DPEG on FTM today too. So 80% value, but one of the borrow lending platforms still took it as $1. So people bought at 80 and borrowed at $1 and drained the vault. So there's still stuff happening here left and right, unfortunately.
Well, we'll keep our eyes out, man. And I gotta admit, I didn't know about this foundation guard until I started digging into it more. Yeah, it's interesting as a phenomenon, but also obviously its inability to serve its intended purpose. This, in the sort of the crisis, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure we'll get into it more on your next show, Billy. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on the foundation itself?
I mean, just real quick, they do have a lot of reserves. I mean, they did buy a lot of CBX tokens to do the voting for the 4 pool that we kind of mentioned about.
Mm-hmm.
Those are locked. There's a lot of BTC over-the-counter sales that are not accounted for. They got a lot of tokens in Binance Chain. So they're sitting on a big treasury. Don't know what they're going to do with it, but, it's still all up in the air. People are doing their sleuthing and trying to figure out, where the money is in a sense.
Yeah, totally. I know it's sort of one of those things where even on Curve, which is something that I know you mentioned this as well last week. I've always thought of it as one of the safest protocols to be using and like having capital in their smart contracts. But because of the nature of this whole debacle, it seems like you just want to be extra careful, I guess, for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I've moved some position. I'm still on Curve, by the way, but I've moved a couple other positions in other locations just to just chill on the storm.
Yeah, to de-risk. I hear it, man.
All right, I have to go, but thank you so much, Billy and Zero. Sorry, Zero, that we couldn't hear what you have to say. Next week, maybe if you are around, we can hop in again. Thank you so much, guys. I have to go, so. Thanks to everyone who took the time today to listen our rants. It was much appreciated, and I look forward to see you all next Monday. Thank you, Billy, again.
Yeah, for sure. Glad to pipe in.
Thanks, Eduman. You have a great week. And so actually, I do see, Billy, you can stay on the stage if you'd like, man, whatever you feel. And we can just riff on this a bit. I do think our scheduled guest is not going to be able to make it today, so we have plenty of other stuff to talk about and chat about. What I'd like to do is get Easy Fox Addict up on stage here. I know you had your hand up for a second, so let me get you up. If you'd like to ask a question or share a comment. I hope I'm Ezek Fox Addict, I think. Hope I'm not butchering your name. But send an invite to speak if you want to join us on stage here. In the meantime, I'm going to get the wheel of names up here. So folks, I'm gonna give everybody another 2 minutes here. If you haven't had a chance to engage with us on Twitter on today's announcement for today's show, you got about a minute or two to do that. Please, folks, I think detecting spammers is relatively easy at this stage, so be a real person, be a G, retweet, tag somebody. We got 4 or 5 people right now that are on the wheel, and I'll show you their names here. Let me see. What do we got here? We have Rohek, of course, always here. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna share something about Rohek in just a second that I think everybody should know. We have 4. We got Rohek. We got Pow again. Pow, if you can hear us today, make sure you hit me up with your OX. I'll get you on Twitter. We want to make sure that people who are engaging with us, that are actually watching the show here with us as well. So we got Rohak, Pow, Login3NFT, Maria, and Gabriel. So let me go ahead and put the names in, and we'll spin the wheel, and you'll get a little bit of honey. today. Give me just 1 second and I'll share the screen with everybody if you're watching on YouTube so you can see that we are in fact randomizing appropriately. All right. So here we go, folks. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel for $5 worth of honey today for helping us spread the good word about 1HTV and our Monday show here. So this week's winner is going to be ticked over to Rohek again, brother. Congratulations. I think you won last week, man. You definitely deserve it. Folks, if you don't know Rohek, he has been... he's been helping us out every single week to make this show possible, and he also just designed a new banner and avatar for 1HTV Twitter, and we're launching this for a number of reasons. Make sure to follow us if you have a second. Again, it's at OneHive TV. I'm showing it right now on the screen on YouTube, and I'll drop a link to it in the chat. Or actually, excuse me, Rohek already put a link to it in the OneHive TV chat. I want to make sure you follow. We're going to be tweeting out information about all of our shows. We'll be tweeting out highlights, and we'll be retweeting from OneHive.org. But we're trying to give accessibility to as many people as possible, bringing on some new folks to help us get the social media game in order. So follow us on OneHive TV, and we'll definitely give out some honey next week for new followers. We'll do a spin the wheel there. So you heard it here first. If you're on Discord or listening on Twitter, head over to Twitter, or listening on YouTube, rather, head over to Twitter at OneHive TV. Follow, and we'll check out the list and of the new followers from today's show within at least an hour or two after the show ends. We'll go ahead and spin the wheel next week and see who can get some honey. Again, folks, make sure you have your RPC set to Gnosis Chain. Winners in the past, some of y'all haven't used Gnosis Chain before. So check out the RPC on the Gnosis Chain docs and add it to your wallet so that you can actually receive the honey that we have to share with you. So again, GM everybody who is joining us here in the Discord, who is watching on YouTube. We just wrapped up with the first hour. We talked about a number of news items, including the Terra ecosystem there at the end. And we are expecting a guest from Club Raphael. So I'm going to go ahead and just share a little bit about that project with everybody today to give a brief overview. We're unfortunately not going to have a guest with us. We'll try again another Monday. But I'm going to go ahead and drop the URL for the project in the OneHive TV channel, chat channel here on Discord, and I'll post it up on screen in just a second for those of you watching on YouTube. It is an interesting project, something a little bit different I hadn't seen before, and I intersected with a couple of their founders about a month ago by way of some other Web3 friends. And Club Raphael is a sort of a novel NFT project that is intersecting with real-world real estate. And this is a really tricky question, obviously. Like it's the idea that I want to share with you today is highly interesting, I think. But it's also something where the legality, frankly, of what they're trying to do is very different depending on where you live. So, being able to fractionalize real estate, for example, I think Billy had said he'd asked his lawyer, not allowed in the U.S. This team is based, I believe, out of Singapore. And so rules are a little bit different elsewhere. But I'm going to give the rundown really quick. And if people have any ideas, comments, questions, feel free to drop them in chat. Billy, of course, if you have any insights, feel free to unmute and share with us. Club Raphael is intended to be essentially a way for people to, it's almost like, I don't know if it's fractionalization. They use that term. Sometimes reminds me of like a timeshare. Essentially that you'll have luxury properties around the world that are owned by a DAO. And then the community of that DAO would hold NFTs, okay, would be issued NFTs representing a proportional share of this property, and it would grant them access to it. Okay. Now I anticipate all sorts of legal complexities to this. For the purposes of presenting this project, it's like a thought experiment more than anything else, untethering from legal structures, because I think part of the assumptions we proceed with here in Web3 is that like we have to push the limits and expect that there are structural changes that this technology will force to happen over time. But of course, we're also not, like as with any other project, right? You don't want to go too far deep in and believe that everything that they're telling you is possible tomorrow. So I think that this is a project that is interesting in concept. In reality, is something maybe a little bit more challenging depending on the jurisdiction in which you live. But the idea is that Club Raphael would be like a meta DAO. Okay, so it would be like the parent DAO that offers opportunities for people to visit luxury real estate for vacationing and travel around the world. And that each of those, so it almost provide like a marketplace where different DAOs that own luxury real estate can, offer up their property or their residence for other people to visit if they possess the NFT, a marketplace where people could obviously sell and swap the NFTs that represent rights over shares to fractional ownership of real estate in different parts of the world. And so, again, it's a very ambitious project here. They're starting, I believe, in Singapore and Dubai. I think that those are the two first like actual tangible properties that that they're going to be pursuing here. But this sort of concept of, NFTs representing a legal like contract of sorts and therefore like a fractional possession over a piece of real estate is definitely something new, something that I don't know about a whole lot of projects that are trying to do this. But if you're interested, it's clubraphael.co, and you can check out, they have a website here. They also have a Discord that is active. They don't have a Twitter, I don't believe, account at this point in time. But again, the sort of intersection of real estate and NFTs here, if this is something that gets you interested or excited, definitely check out clubraphael.co. I don't know, Billy, what's your first gut reaction?
I looked at the